Hello, good morning, all of you, and welcome to today's reading of Swami and Friends by R.K. Narayan. We have come up to this point on chapter number 12, where Swaminathan was saving the country by removing his cap. Continuing now, early next morning, as Swaminathan lay in bed, watching a dusty beam of sunlight falling a few yards off his bed, his mind, which was just emerging from sleep, became conscious of a vague worry. It must be something connected with school. Homework? No. Matters were all right in that direction. It was something connected with dress. Bonfire of clothes. Yes, it now dawned upon him with an oppressive clearness that he had thrown his cap into the patriotic bonfire of the previous evening. And of course, his father knew nothing about it. Oh, what was he going to wear for school today? Telling his mother and asking for a new cap was not practicable. He could not go to school bareheaded. He started for the school in a mood of fatalistic abandon, with only a coat and no cap on. And the fates were certainly kind to him. At least Swaminathan believed that he saw the hand of God in it when he reached his school and found the boys gathered in the road in front of the school in a noisy, irregular mob. Swaminathan pressed through the crowd and unnoticed, till he reached the school gate. A perfect stranger belonging to the third form stopped him and asked, "Where are you going?" Swaminathan hesitated for a moment to discover if there was any trap in this question and said, "Why, of course." "No school today," declared the stranger with emphasis, and added passionately, "One of the greatest sons of the motherland has been sent to jail." "I won't go to school," Swaminathan said, greatly relieved at this unexpected solution to his cap problem. So that was God sent. The headmaster and the teachers were standing in the front veranda of the school. The headmaster looked careworn. Ebenezer was swinging his cane and pacing up and down. For once, the boys saw Deepillai, the history teacher, serious and gnawing his close-clipped mustache in great agitation. The crowd in the road had become brisker and noisier, and the school looked forlorn. At finally, Swaminathan passed through the crowd unnoticed till he reached the school gate. A perfect stranger belonging to the third form stopped him and asked, "Where are you going?" Swaminathan hesitated for a moment to discover if there was any trap in this question and said, "Why, of course." "No school today," declared the stranger with emphasis, and added passionately, "One of the greatest sons of the motherland has been sent to jail." "Then I won't go to school," Swaminathan said, greatly relieved at this unexpected solution to his cap problem. The headmaster and the teachers were standing in the front veranda of the school. The headmaster looked careworn. Ebenezer was swinging his cane and pacing up and down. For once, the boys saw Deepillai, the history teacher, serious and gnawing his close-clipped mustache in great agitation. The crowd in the road had become brisker and noisier, and the school looked forlorn. At 5 minutes to 10, the first bell rang, hardly heard by anyone except those standing near the gate. A conference was going on between the teachers and the headmaster. The headmaster's hand trembled as he pulled out his watch and gave orders for the second bell. The bell that at other times gave out a clear, rich note now sounded weak and inarticulate. The headmaster and the teacher were seen coming toward the gate, and a lull came upon the mob. The headmaster appealed to the boys to behave and get back to their classes quietly. The boys stood firm. The teachers, including Deepillai, tried and failed. After uttering a warning that the punishment to follow would be severe, the headmaster withdrew. Thundering shouts of Bharat Mata ki jai, Gandhi ji ki jai, and Gauri Shankar ki jai followed him. There were gradual, unnoticed additions of all sorts of people to the original student mob. Now zestful adult voices could be detected in the frequent cries of Gandhi ki jai. Half a dozen persons appointed themselves leaders and ran about crying, "Remember, this is a hartal. This is a day of mourning. Observe it in proper spirit and sorrow and silence." Swaminathan was an unobserved atom in the crowd. Another unobserved atom was busily piling up small stones before him and flinging them with admirable aim at the paints in the front part of the school building. Swaminathan could hardly help following his example. He picked up a handful of stones and searched the building with his eyes. He was disappointed to find at least 70% of the paints already attended to. He uttered a sharp cry of joy as he discovered a whole ventilator consisting of small square glasses in the headmaster's room, intact. He sent a stone at it and waited with cocked up ears for the splintering noise as the stone hit the glass, and the final shivering noise a fraction of a second later as the piece crashed on the floor. It was thrilling. A puny man came running into the crowd, announcing excitedly, "Work is going on in the board high school." This horrible piece of news set the crowd in motion. A movement began toward the board high school, which was situated at the tail end of the market road. When they reached the board high school, the self-appointed leaders held up their hands, requested the crowd to remain outside and be peaceful, and entered the school themselves. Within 15 minutes, trickling in by twos and threes, the crowd was in the school hall. A spokesman of the crowd said to the headmaster, "Sir, we are not here to create a disturbance. We only want you to close the school. It is imperative. Our leader is in jail. Our motherland is in the throes of war." The headmaster, a wizened owl-like man, screamed, "With whose permission did you enter the building? Kindly go out, or I shall send for the police." This was received with howling, jeering, and hooting, and following it, tables and benches were overturned and broken, and window panes were smashed. Most of the board school boys merged with the crowd. A few, however, stood apart. They were the first invited to come out, but when they showed reluctance, they were dragged out. Swaminathan's part in all this was by no means negligible. It was he who shouted, "We will spit on the police," though it was drowned in the din. Then the headmaster mentioned the police. When the headmaster mentioned the police, Swaminathan said, "We'll spit on the police." The mention of the police had sent his blood boiling. What brazenness, what shamelessness to talk of police, the nefarious agents of the Lancashire thumb cutters. When the pandemonium started, he was behind no one in destroying the school furniture. With tremendous joy, he discovered that there were many glass panes untouched yet. His craving to break them could not be fully satisfied in his own school. He ran round collecting ink bottles and flung them one by one at every pane that caught his eye. When the board school boys were dragged out, he felt that he could not do much in that line, most of the boys being as big as himself. On the flash of a bright idea, he wriggled through the crowd and looked for the infant standards. There he found little children huddled together and shivering with fright. He charged into this crowd with such ferocity that the children scattered about, stumbling and falling. One unfortunate child who shuffled and moved awkwardly received individual attention. Swaminathan pounced upon him, pulled out his cap, threw it down, and stamped on it, swearing at him all the time. He pushed him and dragged him this way and that, and then gave him a blow on the head and left him to his fate. Having successfully paralyzed work in the board school, the crowd moved on in a procession along Market Road. The air vibrated with songs and slogans, uttered in 100 keys by 100 voices. Swaminathan found himself wedged in among a lot of unknown people in one of the last ranks. The glare from the blanched, treeless Market Road was blinding. The white dust stirred up by the procession hung like thin mist in the air and choked him. He could see before him nothing but moving backs and shoulders and occasionally odd parts of some building. His throat was dry with shouting and he was beginning to feel hungry. He was pondering whether he could just slip out and go home when the procession came to a sudden halt. In a minute, the rear ranks surged forward to see what the matter was. The crowd was now in the center of Market Road, before the fountain in the square. On the other side of the fountain were drawn up about 50 constables armed with lathis. Lathis are sticks. About a dozen of them held up the procession. A big man with a cane in his hand and a revolver slung from his belt advanced toward the procession. His leather straps and belts and the highly polished boots and hose made him imposing in Swaminathan's eyes. When he turned his head, Swaminathan saw to his horror that it was Rajam's father. Swaminathan could not help feeling sorry that it should be Rajam's father. Rajam's father. Rajam's father to be at the head of those traitors. The deputy superintendent of police fixed his eyes on his wristwatch and said, "I declare this assembly unlawful. I give it 5 minutes to disperse." At the end of 5 minutes, he looked up and uttered in a hollow voice to the word, "Charge." In the confusion that followed, Swaminathan was very nearly trampled upon and killed. The policemen rushed into the crowd, pushing and beating everybody. Swaminathan had joined a small group of panic-stricken runners. The policemen came toward them with upraised lathis. Swaminathan shrieked to them, "Don't kill me, I know nothing." He then heard a series of dull noises as the lathis descended on the bodies of his neighbors. Swaminathan saw blood streaming from the forehead of one. Down came the lathis again. Another runner fell down with a groan. On the back of a third, the lathi fell again and again. Swaminathan felt giddy with fear. He was running as fast as his legs could carry him, but the policemen kept pace with him. One of them held him up by his hair and asked, "What business have you here?" "I don't know anything. Leave me, sirs," Swaminathan pleaded. "Doing nothing, mischievous monkey," said the grim, hideous policeman. How hideous policemen were at close quarters, and delivering him a light tap on the head with the lathi, ordered him to run before he was kicked. Swaminathan's original intention, very interesting chapter. Swaminathan's original intention had been to avoid the day's topic before his father. But as soon as father came home, even before taking off his coat, he called mother and gave her a summary of the day's events. He spoke with a good deal of warmth. "The deputy superintendent is a butcher," he said as he went in to change. Swaminathan was disposed to agree that the deputy superintendent was a butcher, as he recollected the picture of Rajam's father looking at his watch, grimly ticking off seconds before giving the order for massacre. Father came out of the dressing room before undoing his tie to declare 50 persons have been taken to the hospital with dangerous contusions. One or two are also believed to be killed. Turning to Swaminathan, he said, I heard that schoolboys have given a lot of trouble. What did you do? There was a strike, replied Swaminathan, and discovered here an opportunity to get his cap problem solved. He added, oh, the confusion. Somebody pulled off the cap that I was wearing and tore it to bits. I want a cap before I start for school tomorrow. Who was he? Father asked. I don't know, some bully in the crowd. Why did he do that? Because it was foreign. Who said so? I paid 2 rupees and got it from the Khadar stores. It is a black Khadar cap. Why do you presume that you know what is what? I didn't do anything. I was very nearly assaulted when I resisted. You should have knocked him down. I bought the cap and the cloth for your coat on the same day in the Khadar stores. If any man says that it is imported, they are not Khadar, he must be blind. People say that it is made in Lancashire. Nonsense, said the father. You can ask them to mind their business, and if you allow your clothes to be torn by people who think this and that, you will have to go about naked, that is all. And you may also tell them that I won't have a paisa of mine sent to foreign countries. I know my duty. Whatever it is, why do not you urchins leave politics alone and mind your business? We have enough troubles in our country without you brats messing things up. Swaminathan lay wide awake in bed for a long time. As the hours advanced and one by one, as the lights in the house disappeared, his body compelled him to take stock of the various injuries done to it during the day. His elbows and knees had their own tales to tell. They brought back to his mind the 3 or 4 falls that he had had that day. One was when Rajam got down from the car and came to the school, and Swaminathan had wanted to hide himself, and in the hurry stumbled on a heap of stones, and there the knees were badly skinned. And again, when the policemen charged, he ran and fell flat before a shop, and some monster ran over him, pinning him with one foot to the ground. Now, as he turned, there was a pang about his hips, and then he felt as if a load had been hung from his thighs. And again, as he thought of it, he felt a heavy, monotonous pain in the head. The merciless rascals, the policeman's lathi was none too gentle, and he had been called a monkey. He would see to call him a monkey. He was no monkey. Only they, the policemen, they looked like monkeys, and they behaved like monkeys too. Swaminathan was so angry with all of them. The headmaster entered the class with a slightly flushed face and a hard, ominous look in his eyes. Swaminathan wished that he had been anywhere but there at the moment. The headmaster surveyed the class for a few minutes and asked, "Are you not ashamed to come and sit here after what you did yesterday?" Just as a special honor to them, he read out the names of a dozen or so that had attended the class. After that, he read out the names of those that had kept away and asked them to stand on their benches. He felt that punishment was not enough and asked them to stand on their desks. Swaminathan was among them and felt humiliated at that eminence. Stand on the bench and then the desk. Then they were lectured. When it was over, they were asked to offer explanations one by one. One said that he had had an attack of headache and therefore could not come to the school. He was asked to bring a medical certificate. The second said that while he had been coming